Chapter 9. Location: Los Angeles, California. Date: June 19th. Treadon, Nelson. Treadon rolled out of the car ungracefully from the confined back seat. He stood up, ready to fight. "Hello!" The man had a smooth politician's voice. He stared at Treadon like he wasn't sure whether to offer him a hand or laugh. "I didn't mean to startle you. My associate and I are looking for someone. I was hoping you could help me." Treadon wished he'd kept his cool. "Sure." Rachel thought on her feet faster than Treadon. Maybe he should ask for lessons in being chill. "Who are you looking for?" The man studied his fingernails on one hand, while he pulled the handle on Ellie's door with the other. A gentlemanly gesture. Ellie climbed out and walked around the car to stand next to Treadon. The car stood between the three of them and the visitor. "He's an old friend. A colleague, really. And he's been extremely hard to find." The man slammed the door. The force shook the car, but Treadon could tell it hadn't been slammed in frustration. The man was stronger than he appeared. "And who are you?" Rachel liked to be the one asking questions. The man put his arms out theatrically, introducing all of himself. He wore a gray business suit with no tie, the top button undone in a way that gave him a casual but confident presence. He was average size, business blonde hair with the salesman's stance. His eyes were an emerald green that stood out among the rest of his averageness. "My name is Darius, and behind me is Abi Egypt, my guardian." Another man appeared, almost like he had been hiding behind Darius. "You can call me Abi, easier to remember." This man gave a wave with one hand, and the other remained in his pocket. He wore a lighter gray suit with a power red tie. The two standing together could have just finished an interview on Channel 9. "Your guardian?" Treadon asked. It was said with so much familiarity. His mind had almost skipped over the words. He might have missed it, except for the fact that he wanted to claim the title himself so badly. Darius nodded. "Yes, every descendant has one. But based on the look on your face, you already knew that. Am I right?" "We're not used to people flaunting the fact that they're descendants," Rachel said. "We know about them, but I've never had one introduce themselves like they were the governor." Darius and Abi shared a glance, and Darius looked down. His shoulders dropped a little, and Treadon could read a deep disappointment. "There are not many left of us. It is rare to have the honor of meeting a descendant." He lowered his head toward Ellie. "And I find myself more than honored. This world can be dangerous if we don't stick together." The front door opened with a squeal of rusted hinges. Treadon wished he'd taken the time to oil them. It would be hard to sneak in or out of the house with that kind of alarm in place. He turned and could tell from his mom's face that something had happened. When she saw the visitors in the driveway, she wiped her face of emotion. "Can I help you?" Abigail asked the strangers. Darius paused, his green eyes widening for an instant. Treadon thought he saw hunger in them. "So you are the famous Watcher." Darius walked up the steps with quick, easy strides. Treadon jumped the railing, landing between Darius and his mom. Abi was on the porch before Treadon saw him move. There were 4 of them on a tiny porch. No room for air. Tension sparked from Abi, but Treadon wasn't about to leave his mom to face the men alone. Abigail squeezed his arm and gave him an easy smile. "It's okay, Treadon. Thank you. Why don't we all talk in the living room? I think we'll be more comfortable." "You want to invite them in the house?" Treadon asked. "Of course." She opened the door and stepped back, pulling him with her. "Let's show our guests some hospitality. Would you get some water boiling for tea?" Despite her calm words, she was tense. The 2 men followed them in, and Abigail motioned for them to sit on the couch. Rachel and Ellie came in behind them. Treadon made his way to the kitchen, needing the space, and filled the kettle before setting it back on the stove. Abigail's voice was level, in control. "Only one person has ever called me a Watcher." "Oh, my dear Abigail, we have so much to talk about." Darius accepted the invitation to sit, but ignored her gesture toward the couch. He took a stool from the kitchen counter and moved it to the center of the room. Abi took a secure position next to the window, standing with his arms at his side. Alert, Abigail, Rachel, and Ellie squeezed together on the couch. The 2 men in their house weren't exactly the image of descendant and guardian. They seemed like they would feel more at home inside the New York Stock Exchange. "I don't think you've actually said who you're looking for," Rachel said, arms crossed, a challenge written in the shape of her eyebrows. "Of course." Darius slapped his leg like he was a host on a talk show. "Though I did think it would be obvious now that we're all gathered, and the one person I hope to see is the only one not here." "And that would be?" Abigail wasn't giving this guy anything for free. Darius leaned forward. "I know this journey has been hard for you, and what I'm about to tell you is going to be harder to hear than anything you've been through. You helped him. You worked together. That doesn't mean you knew him. Abigail shook her head, her face giving nothing away. Steam started to come out of the kettle with a high-pitched whine. Treadon got out cups and put a tea bag in each of them. "I'm so sorry," Abigail said. "I think maybe you have me confused with someone else." "I admire that." Darius reached out and took Abigail's hand. Treadon spilled hot water, resisting the urge to storm across the room and knock Darius's hand from his mom. Abi's eyes bore into him with a warning. "I wouldn't expect you to betray anyone so easily. I am here to find Gabriel Tuoer, and I recognize your ability to lie, but it will not work with me. I am Darius, a descendant of Adiona, and my gift is to see the truth." Abigail pulled her hand back, rubbing it like his touch had burned. "I don't know what you're talking about." Let me start by correcting 3 misconceptions. First, Gabriel Tuoer is not the hero he led you to believe. He has been on the run for almost 20 years. A traitor, he stole from the Vale and went into hiding. Darius waited for a reaction. Abigail gave him none. Treadon overfilled one of the teacups. Second, whatever lies Gabe has told you, you do not have to fight the enemy. We have prepared for what is going to happen next. We've seen it. You have more visions? The outburst came from Ellie. Treadon flinched at the desperate hunger he felt behind her words. She glanced at Treadon and then dropped her eyes. "I mean the visions of Adura. She was able to see the future. Is that what you mean when you say you are preparing for what's coming?" "Do you know where Caden Bachman is?" Rachel asked. "That's the only information about the future I need to know." She had dedicated the last few months to tracking every move, every company, every purchase made under the Triune umbrella. She had consistently claimed the answers to their questions were behind the actions of Xander Calivan, Jarren's dad. Darius didn't blink. "Yes, we have the full library of the visions of Adura. Every word she wrote before her guardian failed to protect her, except for the visions Gabriel stole." "She went missing," Abigail said. "He never stopped searching for her." Darius ignored her and turned his gaze on Rachel. "We have ways of tracking Caden Bachman, but he's not our main concern. Gabriel Tuoer is far more dangerous." "And what is the third misconception?" Abigail asked, her hands gripped in her lap, knuckles white. Treadon brought the cups of tea and set them on the coffee table. Darius picked one up and sipped it without blowing on the liquid. No one else moved. "He wasn't saving them," Darius said as he lowered the teacup. "Those Unguarded you helped him find, that he took before Caden Bachman did, he didn't save them. If he'd brought them to us, we could have protected the Unguarded, but he hid them, leaving them at risk, not giving us a chance to protect them." The blood drained from Abigail's face. Darius gently took her hand again. She didn't pull away. Treadon moved close enough to set his hand on his mom's shoulder. "I can't imagine how hard it is to hear these things." Darius kept his voice low and sincere. "I am so sorry to be the bearer of these grim tidings. I am sorry that I had to be so short and blunt, but the truth is, we are running out of time, and Gabe has managed to evade us again. We need this to stop. We need the prophecies he has stolen, and those children should be offered safety." Abigail spoke 3 truths. "I didn't know you were looking for him. I can't help you. Gabe is gone." The truth of the final statement shocked Treadon. "He left us? After everything that's happened?" Darius studied the space around Abigail's lips, like he could see the air that left her lungs. "I see the color of truth." He stood, pacing in the small living room. "Which means you believe what you've said. That also means you believe some of what I've said, but not everything." He turned back to her. "The hardest truth for you to come to terms with is Gabe's nature and his betrayal of everything he was entrusted with." Abigail's jaw flexed. She wasn't denying it. "I see." Darius paced the room again. Abi's eyes followed Darius's movements. "Does he know?" Abigail's eyes flicked to and away from Treadon. There was something else. Something more. Treadon wasn't sure he could take more. His insides were swirling with doubt, disgust, betrayal, confusion. How much of what this man had said was true? Gabe had been the closest thing to a father Treadon had known, and while he wouldn't give the man an A+ at the job, he had gained a new respect for Gabe over the last few months. He'd seen the feelings Gabe had for Abigail, and he'd seen an internal battle that seemed to be tearing Gabe apart despite his uncrackable exterior. "He doesn't know." Darius's voice had gone soft. He stopped pacing. "I thought I had finished with revelations, but it looks like one more thing needs to step into the light." Abigail shook her head. "No, you've said enough." She stood from the couch and moved toward the door. A bee blocked her from opening it. Darius straightened, and his height seemed to increase. The light around the room dimmed while gathering to him. He had gone from average and easy to ignore to an absolute force. "What?" Rachel asked. Ellie remained silent, head down. "What secret needs to step into the light?" Darius paused, his eyes on Abigail, as if giving her one last chance. She faced a bee with clenched fists, shoulders rising and lowering, with deep breaths as Darius locked eyes with Treadon. "That Gabriel Tuoer killed Treadon's father."